All right, so today we're going to take a look at Vivation. So at a high level, what is it? It's the skill of maximizing your enjoyment of the present moment. So how is that possible? What is this skill? Well, there are 5 principles or elements of Vivation, and I'm going to go over them with you in a second. But basically, when you do these 5 things at the same time, you're essentially maximizing your enjoyment of the present moment. And so what's the benefit? Well, the first one, and I believe this was kind of what started all of this, was the integration of negative emotions and feelings. So fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, anything that you're experiencing, even positive stuff too. You can integrate positive emotions as well. But basically, it's a way of relating to these things so that you can maximize your enjoyment of the present moment, because it's these things that sometimes take away from our enjoyment of the present moment, right? When you're feeling scared, when you're feeling guilty, shameful, whatever it might be, makes it really hard to enjoy these things or enjoy the present moment, really. Relief. So the creators of Vivation, Jim Leonard, who has not passed, but Paul Hughes is the person who kind of took the torch from him. Jim Leonard said, this is a great way to achieve relief if you're feeling emotional pain, and they sometimes even said physical pain, but I haven't experimented with that too much. Another benefit that I've noticed is greater self-understanding. When you can go through the Vivation process, when you can enjoy the present moment, no matter what you're feeling, I think it's quite hard not to really know and learn more about yourself through that process. You're not avoiding anything. You're not running away from yourself. So you're kind of forced to just see who you are as you are and much more. I definitely do think it's worth looking into. Go to the Vivation website and learn for yourself. So now I'm going to show you a very small diagram that encapsulates the Vivation process for me. And so don't worry about much. We'll go from left to right. And so essentially, here's what you kind of do. This is a feeling process. So the first 3 principles, and they actually go 1, 2, 3. The first one is circular breathing. So circular breathing is basically breathing in, breathing out with no pauses at the top or the bottom. And you're either breathing through your nose or through your mouth the whole time, right? So it's completely circular, and you're breathing either with your nose exclusively or your mouth exclusively. The benefit of this is basically you're essentially making it easier to feel the feelings in your body. Oftentimes we're not breathing properly. This leads to a lot of problems when it comes to actually wanting to feel things you can integrate. So this is our base level. The next one is complete relaxation. And so it's really hard to explore your internal experience when you're really tense, when you're just kind of gripping on everything, when you're super focused like this on whatever bad feelings or whatever. It's really hard for you to get a new perspective. It's hard for you to move. And so basically what this looks like in practice is, as you're circular breathing, perhaps on the exhale, you decide to relax completely. So that could look like an inhale in, like this. And then right when you finish the inhale, you just let it all go, right? Let it go like that. Everything you just let go. And that'll help get you into the relaxation. The third principle is detailed awareness. And I think they call it awareness in detail. I just wanted to put it into 2 words. Basically, what this means is experiencing and really noticing what you're feeling in all its detail, right? So if you're feeling something in your throat, or my guy here, he's kind of got something in his chest, that's like having a camera lens, and you're really zooming into that and zooming out to that, and you can really see the contours, the edges. What are the qualities of this emotion or feeling or whatever it is? And can you really get to know it? Can you see it in detail? In Vivation, whenever they teach it, I'm not a teacher. I just like the book, and I've tried this process out. They have this thing called the 3 points to remember, which we'll end off on. But one of the points is keep track of the subtle movements of a sensation. And so basically, that's what you're doing in detailed awareness. You're paying real close attention to the subtle movement of the energy within, and that being the feeling. And so those are the first three. And this is kind of like what you're doing. What I want to go into is kind of the effects of that and some other things you might notice. So what you'll notice is when you do these three things, and those are all the three things, those three arrows, and this is you, it stops what they call suppression. And so what is suppression? Suppression is essentially your body's mechanism for kind of keeping things intact, kind of underground, right? And so, for instance, what's an example of something you could suppress? For example, you might have a negative belief about yourself that you're not good enough. Now, for whatever reason, our system associates like that thought with a really painful feeling. And sometimes we're not really ready to feel those things. And so what happens is our system will suppress these things. It'll kind of keep them down so that it doesn't get in the way of our day-to-day functioning, right? Otherwise, it would just overwhelm us completely. And that would be bad. And so when we do these three things, we're kind of taking off this first layer of suppression, which is this stuff right here. And so when we do that, once we get off the suppression, stuff starts coming up. And oftentimes, the stuff that comes up are what we call make-wrongs. And a make-wrong, as Jim Leonard probably has a very specific definition for this, but it's quite literally in the name. It's something about experience that we've made wrong and has now been stored in our system, right? And so these make-wrongs are kind of what gets suppressed to begin with. And so once we do these three things, what's really happening is we're exposing these make-wrongs and kind of getting the chance to experience them. Now, there's a chance that if you stop the suppression and this make-wrong is too painful, you might just go back into resuppressing it. Your system might go and do that for you. And I don't think that's, a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing that happens, right? But once we're at this point where the suppression goes away and we're at the level of this thing that we've made wrong. So for instance, you can make a make wrong about like your body shape. Body dysmorphia is a big problem these days. So let's say you don't like the way your body right now, for whatever. Maybe your nose is too big or blah, blah. Something is wrong about you. Now those feelings, that tough, those strong feelings are going to come up. And we get into what is the fourth. Well, actually, the fourth element is integration ecstasy. This is the fifth, but for some reason, this makes more sense to me to put this first. Willingness. And so once these things come up, do we have the willingness to really just feel these things as they are, right? And if you have the willingness, that could look like anything, but just could you feel this as it is just for, a little bit without like freaking out? Just have the willingness to be with this thing. You don't need to make it any different. And you're still doing the breathing and the detailed awareness, the complete relaxation, but it's this willingness that really drives this whole process. And you get into what they call integration into ecstasy, which is actually the fourth element. And basically what this means is essentially reframing this, the make wrong, to being something positive. So for instance, something about body dysmorphia or whatever, in the moment, those feelings that you're having, whatever that shows up, maybe it's a constriction in your throat or some negative thoughts or whatever. Basically, what you're going to try to do is find a way to enjoy this thing. And if you can enjoy it, if you can feel, just be gratitude, if you can somehow reframe this make wrong in in any way that's positive, in effect, you cease to make this wrong. You stop making this wrong. And then you get the integration. And the whole cycle completes. And so what I really want you to take away from this process is what we're really doing here is dealing with make wrongs. All the things that we've psychologically and emotionally have decided about ourselves and have somehow stored into our psychology and our nervous system, we're going through this process to stop suppressing those things. And we do that through these three things: circular breathing, complete relaxation, very detailed awareness. And then we have the willingness to really see this as it is, to let it go. And when we have that willingness, it's easier to relate to the make wrong in a different way, in a positive way. And that's what leads to the benefits here. And so, as I've been experimenting with this, I've been messing around with all the different elements. They describe the 3 points to remember, which I think are very helpful. The first point, and I don't know if this is the right order, but the first point is breathe the strongest feeling. So basically what that means is, imagine if the feeling itself was in your stomach or anywhere, and from that feeling, air is breathing in and out. So as if that feeling had a nose and it was breathing. It's not that your nose and you're sending you're sending the breath to the no. That feeling is breathing, right? That's the first point to remember. The second point to remember is notice the subtle movement. And the subtle movement of what? It's the feeling. Notice that subtle movement of the feeling as you're doing that breathing. Notice how it's not static, how it's continually moving. And the third thing is quite simple, but it can be hard to do in practice, is enjoy as much as you can. Even 1%, 10%. Is there something about this emotion or feeling that's a little bit enjoyable? I think one thing for me I've noticed is maybe it's warm. Or in Jim Leonard's book, he has 100 different ways of doing this, which I recommend grabbing. And one of them is don't compare it to anything else. See it just as it is. A feeling is only really a bad feeling once compared to a good feeling, right? But if you just dropped that and just saw it for how it was, you can enjoy it. One way I've been loving is asking myself the question, or at least inviting this question to be answered through the process by asking, how does this want to be known, the feeling? And sometimes that creates this little bit of a relational aspect to it. How does this feeling want to be known right now? Does it want a warmth or direction or something? And I stick with it in that way. I let it lead me. And I found that to be really helpful in coming to integrations and allowing things to move. Another thing you could do that I've been really liking is notice that you're feeling something. So just know that you're feeling something. Know that you're, know that the subtle movement is happening. And when you just know that this is an incredibly pleasurable thing to notice. And so really you could bundle these two together by just know how the subtle movement is moving, right? And you'd be fine. And so these are the 3 points to remember. If you just did these 3 things for whatever you're feeling, you're basically kind of doing this process, right? The make wrongs are going to come up anyways. You don't have to pick anything. It's going to come up as you stop suppressing things through your breathing and a relaxation. And then noticing noticing the cell movement, having that willingness, right, to notice, that's part of it, and then you're integrating to ecstasy, enjoying as much as you can. And so I've been loving Vivation, and I think you'll love it too. If you have any questions, let me know. Obviously, this is not my technique. I recommend Googling Vivation, taking and reading any of the courses, or reading Jim Leonard's original books. He has 3. They're excellent. You can find them on Amazon. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.